Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so thrilled you're joining me today because we are diving straight into a massive paradox, one that touches literally every single one of us navigating the modern digital world. Today, we're unpacking the paradox of the isolated subject. We're going to explore why, in an era of unprecedented connection, we desperately need to restore our human social bonds. And more importantly, we'll look at the deeply human, ethical solutions we need to break free from this trap. I want you to start by thinking about your phone for a second. Why have we never been so connected, yet so incredibly alone? Seriously, think about it. You probably have hundreds of contacts right in your pocket. WhatsApp groups pinging all day, constant social media updates, the ability to instantly video chat with someone on the exact opposite side of the globe. And yet, despite all of this, people are reporting record levels of isolation, anxiety, and just this profound feeling of being totally misunderstood. It's not that we're physically alone in a room, but it feels like we've stopped truly encountering other human beings.
All right, Section 1, the paradox of hyperconnection.
So the core idea here is that the root of our modern loneliness isn't a lack of communication. I mean, we're communicating constantly. The real issue is the disappearance of what philosophers call the other. Look at this quote from the writer Ryszard Kapuscinski. He points out a deeply uncomfortable truth. We love to think of ourselves as these totally autonomous individuals, charting our own course. But honestly, nobody discovers who they truly are in total isolation. You don't figure yourself out by just sitting in a silent room. You figure yourself out by bouncing off the people around you.
We literally do not develop in a vacuum. Everything that makes you, well, you, relies on other people. You only learn to speak because someone spoke to you first. Your very ability to think was formed because someone handed you the words to frame those thoughts. We learn to love by being loved. Even our fierce independence and our rebellions, the stuff we claim is uniquely ours, are almost always constructed in opposition to someone else. We are fundamentally wired for connection.
Moving on to Section 2, the philosophy of the other.
To really grasp what we're losing today, we have to look at the philosophy behind human connection. Heavyweight philosophers have been saying this for ages. Hegel argued that your consciousness absolutely requires recognition by another consciousness just to understand itself. Martin Buber emphasized we're only fulfilled in relation to a thou. And Emmanuel Levinas, he hit the nail on the head regarding our ethics, arguing that looking into the vulnerable, unpredictable face of the other is the actual birthplace of human morality. The bottom line here is that our identity and our morality come from the friction of encountering someone who is genuinely different from us.
Which brings us to Section 3, the birth of the mirror man.
Decades ago, Michel Foucault dropped a huge provocation. Man is dead. He meant the end of a certain idea of what it means to be human. Well, today, the source material suggests a modern twist. Man hasn't just died, he's been replaced by our modern antagonist, the mirror man. This is someone who has absolutely zero interest in understanding the other. Instead, they just want to look around and find reflections of themselves everywhere. And you know exactly who this mirror man is. Heck, we all slip into this. It happens when we let algorithms learn our preferences perfectly. We willingly lock ourselves into digital echo chambers, seeking out news that strictly confirms what we already believe. We gravitate toward leaders who just parrot our own prejudices, we love algorithms that magically anticipate what we want, and we actively curate our lives to only include conversations and relationships that never ever challenge us. We are basically engineering all the friction right out of our lives.
Think of it like this. We have two ways to interact with the world, through windows or through mirrors. A window lets you discover messy, real-world reality. It requires empathy and, a little discomfort, because you're seeing the other as a valid conversational partner. A mirror is the complete opposite. It's about avoiding discomfort at all costs. It's the echo chamber, treating difference not as a learning opportunity, but as a direct threat. And the tragedy is, the more you live surrounded by mirrors, the more your empathy just completely withers away.
This creates a wild paradox, perfectly captured by philosopher Gabriel Marcel. He described the modern individual as an impersonal and anonymous subject in a residual state. It's incredibly ironic. The more obsessed we become with hyper-individualism and perfectly personalized feeds to avoid friction, the more we end up exactly like everyone else. In our desperate attempt to be entirely unique, we become totally homogeneous, trapped in our own perfectly tailored little prisons. That leads us to Section 4, the AI deception.
Now throw artificial intelligence into the mix. For the first time, we can have these deep, complex conversations with an AI that seems to really get us. It listens, it validates us. But here is the massive catch. It is not and cannot be an other. It doesn't have a personal history or human vulnerability. It can't genuinely surprise or challenge you from a place of lived human experience. At the end of the day, no matter how incredibly advanced it gets, AI is just an extraordinarily sophisticated mirror. So think about this for a second, because this is huge for our digital future. If more and more of our daily conversations are with systems designed specifically to adapt to our every whim, what happens to our psychological capacity to tolerate real, unpredictable people who don't? Real encounters require discomfort. Real people contradict you. If we lose the muscle memory for that discomfort, we literally lose the space where human culture is born.
All right, final section. Section 5. The ethics of the encounter. So how do we fix this? Rebuilding our social fabric isn't going to be solved by tweaking a social media algorithm. It requires a massive ethical shift. The philosopher Theodor Adorno had this brilliant concept called the non-identical. He argued we need to fiercely value the things that resist classification, the things that don't fit neatly into our algorithmic boxes and remain a bit strange. The other is exactly this. Not someone who just validates you, but someone whose very existence puts a crack in your certainties. And it's exactly in that crack that true culture and freedom actually grow. A healthy society desperately needs difference to survive. The way out of our modern isolation is not a new piece of technology. It is a daily, active ethical decision. It's choosing to reject the seductive promise of absolute comfort and personalization. We have to actively preserve spaces in our lives for uncurated, unpredictable encounters with people and ideas that we don't control and that might genuinely challenge us. There's this beautiful lesson from a wise man of the Orinoco, shared by the writer Eduardo Galeano. He gave 3 simple steps. First, change your eyes, meaning stop demanding that the world perfectly matches your pre-existing opinions. Second, change your throat. Communicate to truly engage, not just to hear yourself confirmed. And third, step out of yourself. You cannot find yourself by locking yourself inside your own perspective. You have to step away from being the center of your own universe to actually connect. We really only discover who we are when we encounter someone else. We only transform through true dialogue. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, deeply uncomfortable question to chew on. As we build smarter machines and more perfectly tailored digital bubbles, do we still know how to encounter others? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today for this explainer. Keep looking through those windows, and I'll catch you next time.